Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yisra, Ya'el, Yehonathan, Da, we with you here once again, humbly so, when they call the 19th of December, 2021, on the third installment of the greatest story ever told. The greatest story ever told is a love story. And we know how the story ends, but we don't know all the details, and you're going to hear it like you've never heard it before, right here on Yahweh for Christians, on the famous WFBR 1590 AM on Sundays 1 to 2. Now, this installment I wanted to talk about last week. We're going to do it today. Tohu, Bohu. Tohu wa Bohu. But in talking about this love story, remember, we're talking about no one teaches like Yahweh. No creative mind would do this the way he is doing it. We, in the very beginning, we would not even have the tree of TORAH in there, the tree of what good and evil, as we call it. And if you think about it, we say, well, if you take the tree of good and evil, don't put it in there, then we can never sin. Then that is true. You just have the tree of life right there, and you never sin. But then what's the point of the tree of life if you don't have the tree of good and evil? If you're never going to sin, you don't even need the tree of life. So already that shows you that there's a flaw, an error in our thinking. Yahweh is Sadiq. He is righteous. Let's read 3 scriptures from Revelations about this tree of life. Revelations 2:7. He who has an ear, let him hear. That tells you right there. Perk up, listen up, don't be distracted. What Ruach has to say to the called out ones. To him who overcomes, I will give him to eat of the tree of life, which is in the middle of the paradise of Yahweh. That's what they were told in the very beginning. It's right there offered to you. You can take it. Let's go over to the 22nd chapter, verse 2 of this same book, and then we're going to go to 14. Verse 2 reads of 22nd chapter, in the middle of the street and on either side of the river was a tree of life, which bore 12 fruits, each tree yielding its fruit every month. The leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. So obviously, by not taking the tree of life, now we're in a position of needing healing from this tree. Whereas before, you can take this of this tree and just live forever. But now we need to take of it for healing. Well, we know what happened during the meantime, because here we are right now in the land of sin. Go down to verse 14, and it reads, blessed are those who do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life and may enter through the gates into the city. Now, those who have gotten the healing, now they partake of the tree of life. You have the right. That means Yahweh is wrong if he keeps you from going into the kingdom. You have the right, the legal right to enter into the kingdom. So what we have here, Yahweh who created all things, putting himself in position of a relationship. The greatest story ever told, which is a love story, is about relationship. So if you don't have the tree of good and evil in there, you really don't have a relationship. Yahweh can keep the first 6 worlds that he had before if they could not make it. Because if there's any one flaw that comes up over the eons of time, it gets destroyed. This is the world that he created for relationship. And this is the only, this one, those who receive the commandments, as it says in Revelation 22:14, they're going to have, and eat of the tree of life, will have the right. I have the right to enter the kingdom, and I will, because I love Yahweh as the deer pants for the water, and I will partake of this tree of life and enter into the gates. It is my right. It is your right. It is everyone's right who has a relationship with Yahweh, who is teaching us this story. And Yahweh is not a reactionary. He's like, oh man, snap. He took the wrong tree. Now what am I going to do? No. Let's go to Habakkuk. Here's one I doubt very seriously. If you ever, people don't even read what they call the minor prophets. The greatest prophecies and the most deep prophecies you will ever wrestle with are those 12 so-called minor prophets. Have you ever heard this verse read? And have you even considered it in Habakkuk 3:1-4? Habakkuk 3:1-4. And it reads, a prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet of Shinagoth, O Yahweh, I have heard your speech and was afraid. O Yahweh, revive your work in the middle of the years. In the middle of the years, make it known. In wrath, remember mercy. Elohim came from Teman, the Kodesh one from Mount Paran. Selah. He says Selah. That means think on it, slow down, stop. That means when it says Selah, it means whatever was said before it, you need to think about it. His honor covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. His brightness was like the light. He had rays flashing from his hand, and there was power, and there his power was hidden. Wow, there's a lot there. Yahweh, El Shaddai, El Elyon, I, Yehonathan Dawid, love you. I love you as the dear pants for wars. I pray your Ruach HaKodesh rest on me right now, on this mic, as I share this word on Yahweh for Christians, for those who have an ear to hear. Hallelujah, 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 Yeshua, hallelujah, Yahweh. This is a lot to consider here. First of all, he goes on and says this is a song he's singing. And we talked about Shirot, how songs have deep prophetic meanings. Every song in the book, you need to learn them, read them, because you're going to get deep knowledge. And that is what I do here, and that is why I seem to know so much more than even your teachers and your elders. Now, one of the things in the song, I can do a whole broadcast on this, but I'm not going to be able to do that, of course. But he says here that he came from two areas that we need to think about. Teman, and wait a minute. Yahweh coming from Teman? That is where your brother Esau is from. Esau hails from Teman. Then he says Paran. Wait a minute. Your half-brother Ishmael comes from there. So you got Yahweh coming from Teman and Ishmael. That's why he says stop, Selah, think on this. Well, I'm not going to I'm not going to give you the answer on that today. You're going to keep on tuning in, because this is all going to lead us into Daniel Revelations, which is the culmination of the greatest story ever told. And this is going to be elucidated at that time. But going down, he says that Yahweh's glory covered the heavens. And then down in verse 4, his brightness was like the light, and he had rays flashing from his hand. Even Habakkuk didn't understand this prophecy. What came from Yahweh's hand? The light, the understanding, the knowledge. And in his grip is the names of all those that Yahweh gave to him to redeem. That's right. Your name, your new name, the sinless name, not the one we have here named from our parents. The sinless name was in the grip of Yahweh's hands. And in the Garden of Gethsemane, he held his hands up to his Father every night and called out until he called out all of our names. Your new name that he's going to give you. And Hasatan cannot see who those names are. Which is why his hatefulness and his bloodthirsty anger, he had those hands pierced with the nail on the tree of the sacrifice for you and me. Right through the middle of his hands. One nail, two hands together, causing one hole right there where your name is, your eternal name. And out of that hole that was pierced for you and me came light, or knowledge, the knowledge of Yahweh. Wow. Did you get chill bumps? Did you ever hear that from anywhere else? Did you ever hear this prophecy from anywhere else? Right here in Habakkuk. Yahweh from the beginning, he told us, how many times did I quote Isaiah 46:10? He tells us to be the end from the beginning. From the beginning. Yahweh is not reactionary. He is proactive. He already knows all things. And he desires a relationship. And those who seek relationship with his son gets to know knowledge like I just shared with you right here. That from the beginning, he knew that his hands were going to be pierced with the names of all those that he is to redeem. Remember, Goel means redeemer, genetic redeemer. And I'm the one that dropped the word covenant on you, and it is Ya'ad. It means agreement, and it means an opening hand. And I've been saying for years now, 5-6 years, about how this is a evolving revelation. that Yahweh's given us in this greatest story ever told. And I've been telling you, there's no multiple covenants. There is one covenant. It is a one covenant that is evolving and is a full unfolding of revelation to us. So it's the same covenant, it just evolves. You cannot take a snapshot picture of Yahweh and think you got all of him. He is eternal. He is exceedingly broad. We can never know all of him. It is evolving. Last week I talked about how we need to stop hanging our hats on information given to us by those who hate you, those who do not believe what you believe in, and those who hate Yahweh. All the information we are given, all the information that we have, all of it comes from the Erev Rav. About 1,200 ugly orangutan looking men. No, they're not Jews. We do not white man bash or Jew man bash hate on Yahweh for Christians. And this is why the Erev Rav hate me. Because I weed through all the BS. I weed through all that crap about black power and all this stuff and all those lies about the black man, the white man, the Jew man, and I go to the heart of it. The true enemy. The true enemy. Hasatan's seed is the Erev Rav. And I doubt very much you've ever seen any of them. They don't come out in the light. They don't come out. They can't handle the sunlight. But they direct all the narrative that we have. So it takes Ruach HaKodesh to weed through it and get the truth out of it. Consider the information that you get, where it comes from. First of all, if they don't believe in Yahweh, how are they going to give you the truth? You're going to have to look at it and you're going to have to pray and fast and get the truth out of it. If you say you only get it from the KJV, what you're saying is you believe in what men, I told you, this is a century of work to get you to this KJV. It is the #1 single propaganda tool used by Hasatan. It lies from the fourth word, in the beginning, God. So you cannot hang your hat on what comes from this book and this book alone. I talked to you about how they took out the Apocrypha. Why did they wait till 1828? It's been in the Bible for over 200 years. So if I quote from the Apocrypha, you're going to say it's not inspired. Why was it inspired in 1827? So you're going to let the so-called white man tell you what's inspired and what's not inspired. 225 books in the salt mines that they found. The Dead Sea Scrolls. So you can use those. So you're not going to use Enoch and Jasher and Jubilees. When Jasher's been quoted at least 3 times in the Bible, Enoch is quoted also. And as Jubilees. These are books, and they all have been tainted, of course. All of them. I'm not saying they're untainted, but these are books and resources that have been taken from us because they give us more light into what they have and what they're trying to hide from us. What they're trying to hide from us is Yahweh, the name of Yahweh, his covenant peoples, and the love story, the greatest love story ever told. All of this is obfuscated in the way that Erev Rav gives you the information. So you're going to have to pray and fast. You're going to have to desire to have a sincere relationship. You cannot box out. You have to be not afraid. And Yahweh says hundreds of times, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to come to an understanding different than what you've believed all your life. In 1828, I told you that Theodore Sedgwick Wright, he was the first black graduate of Princeton Theological Seminary. You want to know why they took the Apocrypha out of there on that very year? Because knowledge was increasing back then. And now so-called black people and soon to be former slaves will be reading the Bible and discerning and learning and realizing that they are the ones that are the people of the book and not who they have been told. In January the 1st, 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation came into effect. Only against the states in rebellion, because even then, in 1863, Delaware and Kentucky still had legal slaves. The 13th Amendment wasn't ratified till the 6th of December, 1865. And even then, it wasn't until June 19th that places such as Galveston, Texas, didn't even know about our so-called freedom. And even then, it wasn't until 1866 that the last Native Americans were freed. The Choctaw natives in the various so-called Indian territories, 1866. So they had to make sure they had everything in place to obfuscate our history. The KJV, I told you, it's been modified. The official book modified 8 times. It wasn't until 1769 that Jehovah Jesus was even in the Bible. It wasn't in the Bible in 1611, 1615, 1629, 1638, 1762, all the other editions of the official King James Bible. It didn't get in there till 1769. All to hide Yahweh's people. We know the KJV is set up for propaganda. Look at the movie The Book of Eli, where Denzel Washington's character was trying to get the book to a special camp where they can go in and get it reprinted again, because all the Bibles were taken away. And then the evil character in the book that was chasing after Denzel Washington, he wanted the book. Why? Because he wanted the book, the Bible, to repopulate the world in lies under his control, to have the Bible disseminated per his view. So what greater weapon can you have? How did this whole lands and so-called western part of the world get conquered? With plague diseases from the mouths of the Europeans and the Bible. That's how they conquered it, not by the sword. How could a few raggedy men coming off the ships starving destroy hundreds of millions of strong warriors? But by disease and propaganda of the Bible. So it takes Ruach HaKodesh. This is Yehonathan Dawibu here, Yahweh for Christians, giving you authentic truth, original words, which gives you original truth. I told you, follow the rod. I'm the one that showed you in the book of Jasher how Yahweh, this greatest story ever told, began on Yahweh's outstretched arm. That branch that Hasatan sat on as he beguiled Eve. And they both ate of that one branch. 2 different fruits. The same fruit off that one branch. Yahweh used that same branch that fell to the ground. It didn't stay onto the tree. It didn't stay onto the tree. It's not on the tree now. It fell to the ground. And Adam took that branch and he used that to till the ground with. Yahweh gave it to him to till the ground with, and Yahweh used that to fulfill the promise. It is the same rod that Moshe and Aaron used to do the miracles. It is the same rod that Moshe covered up with the snake. It is the same rod. It was called, I forget the name, I'll get back to it, but they gave it a name, and eventually it was being worshipped by Yisrael. Hezekiah eventually destroyed that snake that Moshe put on that rod and took it off because they were worshiping it. But before that, before King Hezekiah, Dawid took it when he was running from Absalom, his son, and he planted it on the Mount of Olives. And Nehushtan, that's what it was called. And that's when Israel was worshiping it. It was called Nehushtan. Hezekiah, then he took it off, took the snake off, and then that's when it was able to grow. And it grew into an almond tree on the Mount of Olives. This is why when Aaron's rod budded, you had an olive branch budding olives. An almond tree, an olive tree budding almonds. Didn't you think, why are almonds and olives coming from the same rod? Because Yahweh sacrificed himself on the Mount of Olives on an almond tree. Isn't that deep? You're not going to get that today in Sunday church. You're not going to get that. And you probably didn't even get it yesterday. So we find that this greatest story ever told has always been planned. And we had to go through various stages to get to where we are now. And ultimately we had to get to Yahweh, because this broadcast only speaks of Yahweh, because the times are evil and we're not going to get caught up in what's the latest thing going on today. Because the Bible, the Torah, is always on time and is always relevant. Eliezer ben Yehuda, You read his bio. This is probably one of the greatest 10 men in the last 200 years. It's because of him that we had the language even revived. Now, keep in mind though, they think they are the people of the book. They are not, but it's through them that we had the language revived. He said to supplement the deficiencies of the Hebrew language, the committee coins words according to the rules of grammar and linguistic analogy from Semitic roots. Can you believe that he said the Hebrew language had deficiencies? What's really saying is we need to manipulate this. So we do not have the original Lashon HaKodesh. We have what I jokingly call Jubru. But it's still the closest thing we have. They had to obfuscate 33% of the Hebrew language. And you get the details of it in my book, Yahweh for Christians. But they did this to, again, obfuscate the name of Yahweh and his people. But during this time, there needed to be, this language had to be brought back to get us to even where we are right now, which is the increase of knowledge and getting to learn who we are. Our Jewish brothers were pogroms against us during this time in late 1800s and the early 1900s. Britain proclaimed Palestine east of Jordan to be close to Jewish settlement, but not to the Arabs. So the whole world was turning towards supplanting us with another people in the minds of the world, even before World War I. But it didn't happen. It didn't get into fruition until after World War II came about. And it was at that time, then things were ripe for the world to replant another people in there to replace you. And that's what happened. And you can get some books from our Jewish brothers. The Transfer Agreement gives you a good knowledge on this. Hitler's Secret Backers by Warburg. The Transfer Agreement was written by Edwin Black. And Hitler's Secret Backers was written by Warburg. But if you think about this, there's no way that a lightly melanated peoples could have been in Egypt being enslaved by dark peoples, being whipped. That is a cartoonish thought, that you had black crispy men whipping on a group of white people. Never in the history of the world was there any groups of black peoples enslaving groups of white peoples, if you will, using those terms. I don't like those terms, but the original peoples of the book are you, and you can only learn this by studying your authentic history. But because the Erev Rav are directing the narrative, we get ourselves lost in the sauce. And it takes discernment and love of Yahweh Yeshua to weed through all the lies. All of us are being manipulated, just that the Erev Rav puts up who they want to benefit from it the most. And he wants you to argue and get distracted by talking about Black Lives Matter and Black Power and hating the white man or hating Jewish people. You are already lost in truth if you are pitting yourself against any group of people. If you are seeing any group of people as your enemy, then the Erev Rav has won. They have won. Because that's what they set up this whole world. They're the ones who started identifying people by so-called color, which the ancient world never did. Nowhere during the so-called Bible times, nowhere in the history from Genesis to Revelations were groups of people identified by the melanin content of their skin. That is a brand new ideology created by the Erev Rav so we can fight one another and be distracted as he runs the world, which is he is doing now. Every plague, every war, every damned thing that's been going on with this world has come from their directing, them puppeteering everything. But you tune into Yehonathan Dawid here on Sundays, 1 to 2 on WFBR 1590, and get the truth. Isaiah 34, 1 through 11. Isaiah 34, 1 through 11. Come near to hear, and heed, you peoples. Let the earth hear, and all that is in it, the world and all things that come forth from it. Because the indignation of Yahweh is against all nations, and his fury against all their armies. He has utterly destroyed them. He has given them over to the slaughter. Also their slain will be thrown out. Their stench will rise from their corpse, and the mountains will be melted with their blood. All the hosts of heaven will be dissolved, and the heavens will be rolled up like a scroll. All their hosts will fall down as the leaf falls from the vine, and as fruit falling from a fig tree. For my sword will be bathed in heaven. Indeed, it will come down on Edom and on the people of my curse for judgment. The sword of Yahweh is filled with blood. It is made overflowing with fatness, with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams, because Yahweh has a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Edom. The wild oxen will come down with them, and the young bulls with mighty bulls. Their lands will be soaked with blood, and their dust saturated with fatness, because it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance, the year of recompense for the cause of Zion. Its streams will be turned into pitch, and its dust into brimstone. Its land will become burning pitch. It will not be quenched night or day. Its smoke will ascend forever. From generation to generation, it will lie waste. No one will pass through it forever and ever. But the pelican and the porcupine will possess it. Also the owl and the raven will dwell in it, and he will stretch out over it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. That is Tohu wa Bohu that Yeshua is talking about here. Total destruction, and only Yahweh can avenge it. Not you, not me, not your marching, not your voting, not your rioting still in black flat screen TVs like it has anything to do with the narrative. This comes about only after Yahweh's people are totally destroyed. This word Tohu wa Bohu is only used twice in the so-called Old Testament. Once in Genesis 1:1 and right here. Right here. So shocked was Daniel of this, and he said, I read it many times in Daniel 12:6 and 7. Daniel says to the Malach, wow, what? We're going to be totally destroyed like that? When is this going to happen? I mean, when is this going to end? When is this going to end? And the Malach says in Daniel 12:7, it's going to end when Yahweh's people are totally trampled to the dust. This greatest love story, this is the nadir of the greatest love story. We're still not there yet, because you still have a right not to take the jab. You still have a right to curse out the president. You still have a right you still have rights. So we're not trampled like dust yet. We have not gotten here to Isaiah 34:1-11 yet. We have not gotten to Tohu wa Bohu. But what happened in Genesis 1:1? When Yahweh recreated, he didn't create the earth, he recreated the earth out of total mayhem. And we're going to talk about that probably starting next week, about the recreation of the earth. This is not Genesis 1:1 is not the creation of the earth. It is the recreation of the earth. And it came out of Tohu wa Bohu. And Yahweh's going to recreate his people. This story, this love story is being recreated out of total destruction, total mayhem, total bedlam, total blackness and darkness. And we're not there yet. Your blood is still not finished being spilled down the streets. You still have not finished being attacked by the latest plague and whatever else is going on. We still got a ways to go. Let's stick right here to Isaiah 45:18. This is not done yet. You're going to have faith in Yah. You're going to have no fear. You're going to have to cling to Yahweh. Cling to Yahweh is clinging to eternality. You must seek a relationship with Yahweh, sure, because the devil ain't playing. And you think it's rough now, it's getting worse. Next year is, based on my calculations, is a Jubilee year. Now, I don't think it's going to be the 50th year. That's in 2030. So if it doesn't happen next year, you got 2030. You got 2030. Isaiah 45:18. For thus saith Yahweh, who created the heavens, who is the mighty one, who formed the earth and made it, who has established it, who did not create it in vain, who formed it to be inhabited. I am Yahweh, and there is no other. So you say, Yehonathan, what do you mean Yahweh recreated earth? He created it in Genesis 1. No, he did not. He says right here in verse 18 that he did not create destruction. He did not create confusion, I should say. He did not create confusion. Genesis 1:1 starts off with a destroyed creation, a destroyed world. Genesis 1:1 starts off with confusion. He says here in Isaiah 45:18 that he did not create confusion. That means that the narrative begins with Yahweh recreating the heavens and the earth out of what has become confusion, what has become total destruction. The narrative starts off with the world, the previous creation, having already been destroyed. Then how did that happen? Did not Yahweh Yeshua said he beheld Hasatan like lightning and threw him down to the earth? That is how he got destroyed, when he and all his minions crashed into the creation and destroyed the sixth world. We are now in the seventh. The eighth is to come. Yahweh declares the end from the beginning. Job 38:4-7. Job 38:4-7. Yahweh, please open up their ears to hear. Please get this through, dear Yahweh, I pray. Job 38:4-7. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? To what were its foundations fastened? Or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of Elohim shouted for joy. Yahweh is right here saying, who in the world are you? This is when we know the story all leading up to this. Yahweh is putting everybody in their place, saying, who are you to question me? Can you even measure the wind? Do you even know where it comes from? Do you know? It's just like me having wood, and I make a table out of part of it and a chair out of another part of it, and I use the rest of it and burn it up. I own it. Who's the wood that's going to complain to me? I wrote a book. I write it the way I want to write it. The book can't speak to me and complain to me about how I write on it and what I say. The artist is in control of what he does. The artist is Yahweh alone creates. The created thing does not have a foreknowledge. When you make a child, that child does not know why they have to eat vegetables for dinner and not Captain Crunch. You just tell them to eat the vegetables. You explain it to them, they don't understand it anyway, and that's what Yahweh did. In the Bereshit, in the beginning, Yahweh declared the end from the beginning, and we didn't understand. It's no different than you telling your 2-year-old about sex, about how he was made. He's not going to understand it. You tell him everything scientifically and righteously, according to the scriptures, perfectly. Your 2-year-old's going to look at you like, huh, what? He's not going to understand it, even though you told him the truth about everything. It takes maturation and a relationship with the parents and a growing and a nurturing and a growing up and a guiding of the child for the child to understand sex and how he got there. It won't be at 2 years old, but the process starts from the very beginning of the child when he's on the mother's breast and when he sees mom and dad love one another in a loving way. When he grows up in a nurturing home, he is learning about everything he needs to know just by good modeling, good conduct. And that's what we're doing here. Yahweh told us the end from the beginning, and we didn't understand it. Adam could not bring Eve back. He could not do it. He thought he could take Yahweh's job and bring her back. He couldn't do it. The second Adam had to do it, and he did it on that same branch that he and Eve ate from. The same one. We have no authority to tell Yahweh how to write his story. We have no authority. Did you learn anything from the book of Job? He didn't know the backstory about how Hasatan challenged Yahweh with Job, with Eob. He didn't know all that was going on in heaven. He just know that he was afflicted. Hebrews 1. Let's go to the book of Hebrews. This is a beautiful thing, this love story. And you're going to see that it takes a relationship with Yahweh. It's all about relationship. Otherwise, you just don't have no tree in the garden. None. Hebrews 1 and 2. And it reads. And let me just go ahead and read 1 and 2. And it reads, Yahweh, who at various times and in various ways spoke in times past to the fathers by the prophets, has in these last days spoken to us by his Son, whom he has appointed heir of all things, through whom also he made the worlds. The worlds, plural. So here, the writer of Hebrews, who I think I say is Peter, who tells us that from the beginning, Yahweh is letting us know the revelation of all things. And he did it through his Son, Yeshua, who was hung on a tree, died, and resurrected after that third day. And he said through him, he made the worlds, plural. So when you look at me sideways or say this man doesn't know what he's talking about, when I say that this is not the first world, that this is a recreated world, it's right here in the KJV that you love so much, where the record says worlds, more than one. This is not, let's get him another. This is not all. At the mouth of two witnesses, 2 or 3 witnesses. Let's go to 11 and 3 of the same book. And it reads in Hebrews 11, let's just start from verse 4. By faith Abel offered to Yahweh a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, through which he obtained witness that he was righteous, Yahweh testifying of his gifts, and through it he, being dead, still speaks. And okay, I'm going to go up to 3. I'm sorry. That's verse 4. Verse 3. By faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of Yahweh, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which are visible. Here we go. Right here, it says the worlds were framed by the word of Yahweh. Just like Yahweh spoke this word into creation, he spoke the previous ones into creation. Each one being destroyed because they did not have chain. They did not have grace. Actually, they did not have techanol. Techanol is miracle grace. And I go in detail on that in my book, Yahweh for Christians. This is the only world that was created with techanol. This is why Yahweh is the X-Man. He is the central figure. This is the only world where we have a chance. We have a right, a legal right, to approach Yahweh for eternity. Because the other worlds did not have techanol. They were framed by the word of Yahweh, but they did not last. And Hasatan did not want this kind of world which you had grace in it. And this is why he balked at Yahweh and was kicked out. So I gave you 2 scriptures. Remember, I gave you mine for 2 witnesses, Hebrews 1 and 2, and then Hebrews 11 and 3, where it uses the word worlds, plural. Plural. Now let's go to 1 Peter 5 and 9. 1 Peter 5 and 9. I'm going through the KJV, which you love and trust so much, because I go to other books, y'all seem to not want to trust it or believe it. But in 1 Peter 5 and 9, it reads, resist him steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same sufferings are experienced by your brotherhood in the world. So, before the foundation of the world, what we need to realize is that these things must be. We need to just be steadfast, and we need to resist Hasatan. Just Yahweh rebuke you. Stop following preachers who tells you to argue with the devil and to stomp on the devil. Nowhere in the Bible does it tell you to do that. It tells you to stand fast. Put on your whole armor and to stand fast. You don't argue with the devil. Once you open your mouth and start talking to the devil, you have lost. You didn't learn nothing from Eve, from Mother Hawa. You didn't learn anything right there in the very beginning. She lost that battle. Who didn't argue with Hasatan was Adam. Adam was not deceived. He just didn't want to lose another wife. He already lost one. Eve was the second wife. But this was the first one that came from his flesh and body. This is why he figured, no, I had to redeem this one. But he could not do that. And we got books to talk about that, which I'm going to go into maybe starting next week as I talk about this greatest story ever told. We with you here on Yahweh for Christians. The greatest story ever told, a love story. And like I said before, when Hasatan balked against Yahweh, because now here he is, the covering cherub, the greatest of, most beautiful of all Yahweh's creation, he saw power. All he saw with his interpretation of the only way to run creation is with force and power, which is just one aspect of Yahweh. And this is what was ruled all these worlds, these previous 6 worlds. But in this one that Yahweh had blueprinted and planted up, this one included Tachanol, which is miracle grace. Hasatan didn't want that. He balked against it, because in this world, he will be subjected to a created thing made from soil. And so Hasatan like, what? I'm made from fire. I ain't going to bow down to no man made from soil, from dirt. I'm not going to do that. And here he is, he balked against Yahweh, and Yahweh threw him out. But Yahweh did not destroy him. Because what happened? 1/3 of the heavenly host also followed him, following their eyes. When they saw the most beautiful of all creation, Heliel was his given name by Yahweh. Heliel, who was the covering cherub, Yahweh circumcised himself of him, threw him down to the earth, to the creation that he refused to follow the planned next creation in. And so before that, no one still to this day has seen Yahweh. He is covered in the darkness. Read the book of Psalms. And I think in Psalms 19 particularly tells you that how he is shadowed in the darkness. Or is it Psalm 18? Psalm 18 or 19, one of the two. And how now we have other creatures covering Yahweh with multiple eyes. They continually circle him and call him Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh. No Malachim, even in heaven, sees Yahweh. Remember, faith is by hearing. So they hear his voice and they conduct themselves by the hearing of his voice. If you just see Yahweh, you don't need no faith. You don't need faith for what you see. If I have a friend of mine coming to my house and he's sitting at my table, eating and drinking, talking with me, I don't have to have faith that he's coming. He's right there looking at me, talking to me, eating my food. I have faith when on the phone he says he's on his way. I have faith that he's going to come. Once I see him, faith disappears. Heaven does not live in faithlessness. Heaven does not see Yahweh. They'd have to live in faith too. Otherwise, heaven is faithless. And right now, you live in faith. So, if Yahweh had destroyed Hasatan right away, as soon as he balked, then you would have the whole earth shivering in fear. Because here they have now what they perceive as a bully. You question him one time and he just kills you. But that's not what he did. He expelled him from his home. No different than what you would do. You have a right. This is your house. You have the rules. And your child of age wants to come in when she wants to come in and bring in men, do whatever she thinks she wants to do. You put her out. You put him out. You have rules. And if they don't go by those rules, which is good for them, then they get put out. So they got put out of, Yahweh put him out of his house. But he did not destroy him. Because the unfolding of his revelation that I read for you in Habakkuk 3, 1 through 4. The light. In the beginning, Yahweh says, let there be or. And let there be or means let the creation be full of the knowledge of Yah. That's what let there be or means. Let the creation be full of the knowledge of Yah. And in the palm of Yah came out this knowledge that Habakkuk tells us. The knowledge of his son. The unfolding of the Yah, the agreement, is an evolving revelation. There is no separate covenants. It is one covenant of evolving revelation. And the prophets would have loved to know what we know now. We're on the other side of the sacrifice. Yeshua has been sacrificed, died, and resurrected. Now we know more than any other men on earth ever, because we're on this side of it. We know all things. Romans 8 and 18. Romans 8. And I'm going to read, I can read all of the book of Romans 8, chapter 8, but let's just go to 18 to 39. Romans 8, 18 through 39. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which will be revealed to us. Whatever you're going through now, my brother, my sister, do not fret. This is all worth it. You think Abraham didn't think what he went through was worth it once the promise was shown to him? Yitzhak, Jacob, once it came about. Moshe, once it came about. Yahweh is true to his word. His word is proven. Verse 19. For the earnest expectation of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of Yahweh. See what he says? The creation itself, earth, is waiting for the world to see the revealing of Yahweh's covenant peoples. You, me, all those who receive his son. Not black people, so-called black people. Nowhere in this book does Yahweh identify his people as black people. Nowhere. Those who receive his son do not get caught up in false arguments. Verse 20. For the creation was subjected to fertility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it in hope. So the creation was fine, waiting for the production of the making of Adam and Eve. But actually, the first woman wasn't Eve. Adam and the first wife. Some people call her Lilith, whatever. But then it got destroyed when Yahweh hurled down Hasatan and those who followed him. So it was subjected not by choice, it tells us right here. Because the creation itself will be delivered from bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of Yahweh. See, the creation is waiting too, just like you and me. Faithfully, she is waiting. Verse 22. Because we know that the whole creation groans and labors with birth pains together until now. Not only that, but we also who have the first fruits of Ruach, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, eagerly waiting for the adoption, the redemption of our bodies. I was groaning this morning. Oh, Yahweh, I can't. We don't rush the times. But I'm saying, as the deer pants for the waters. After singing that song, he could took me right then and there. I wouldn't be on this mic right now. So be it. But we are waiting for this adoption, for the redemption of our bodies. These bodies aren't going to make it. They have sin in them. They house Yahweh's blood. This is not supposed to have Yahweh's blood. We're going to have a new name and new bodies with no history of sin. Verse 24 of this greatest story ever told in Romans 8 and 7. Romans 8 and verse 24. Because we were saved in this hope. But hope that is seen is not hope. For why does one still hope for what he sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, we eagerly wait for it with perseverance. Isn't that what I just got finished saying? There's no such thing as faith, no such thing as hope when you see it. Seeing something automatically releases hope. It automatically releases faith. Faith comes by hearing. Faith comes by hearing. So when my wife's ears heard that I wanted to marry her, she had to have faith that it was going to be done. Once we walked in the aisle, she got a ring and we did our I do's. My wife is not right now having faith that we're going to be married. We're married. Anniversary coming up next week. We're married. She don't need no faith that she's going to have her husband. When I said it to her in her ear, she had faith that it was going to happen. The bridegroom is going to return. So all those who love him, who seek his face, who keep his mitzvot, his commandments of love. Ohab, love. And then faith will disappear when you see him. When you look at him with your eyes, and you will be like him as he is. And where he is, you will be also. Hallelujah, Yahweh. Continuing on in Romans 8, verse 26, in this latest installment of the love story that Yahweh has written for us, because he desires us and he desires a relationship with us, an intimate one with us. Likewise, Ruach also helps in our weakness, because we do not know what we should pray for as we ought. But Ruach himself, see, he's a man, is right now, the baton was given from Yahweh when he says, okay, we're going to, these last 6 worlds, this is not what we want. We know that. Now is your turn. This 6th world is going to come through you. You're going to create the whole world. Everything is going to be created through you, and by you will nothing be created that was created. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was Yahweh Yeshua, and we beheld him as the only begotten of the Father. Yahweh Yeshua. Then Yahweh Yeshua did his part, and now the baton is handed over to the next man, Ruach HaKodesh, who entered into the 120 at the upper room. So here it says right here in verse 28 that it is his turn. Actually, verse 26. For we do not know what we should pray for as we ought, but Ruach himself, he makes intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. Every soul that believes in Yahweh Yeshua only believes in him because of Ruach HaKodesh. It takes a miracle to believe what I'm espousing here right now. It takes a miracle to believe in Yahweh Yeshua and deny Jace, the Lord God Jesus Christ, and then whatever else, Allah, Buddha, Hare Krishna, the Pope, whoever else you want to call on. Now he who searches the hearts knows what the mind of Ruach is, because he makes intercession for the saints according to the will of Yahweh. Ruach HaKodesh makes the intercessions for the Kadashim, us. He makes the intercession. Every soul that receives Yahweh Yeshua does so through Ruach HaKodesh. And he only testifies of Yahweh Yeshua. No one else, nothing else. It's only under the name of Yahweh only does every knee bow to and every tongue confess. At the name of Yahweh Yeshua must every knee bow to and confess. Verse 28. And we know that all things work together for good to those who love Yahweh, to those who are called according to his purpose. That's why don't fret. Whatever lumps you take and take it, it will be done. You will not have any memory of this pain. For whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of Yahweh Yeshua, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. You are being formed like a potter into the image of Yahweh Yeshua. You are being conformed to his image. I am being conformed to his image. Yahweh Yeshua did not deny the steak. He took it. He did not, just like Yitzhak did not deny his father's getting ready to slice his throat. He took it. He didn't have to do it, but he was there in his heart to do it. Yahweh Yeshua hung himself willingly. He allowed himself to happen to him. You need to take your lumps. Take them. We need to take our pain. Stop trying to be healed all the time. Receive the testimony of this pain that Yahweh Yeshua. What Eob has a testimony. 22 years he went through that pain. You read it, don't know that he went through this for 22 years. It was for the purpose of Yahweh Yeshua, the greatest story ever told. Moreover, whom he predestined, these he also called. Whom he called, these he also justified. Of whom he justified, these he also glorified. What then shall we say to these things? Is if Yahweh is for us, who can be against us? Didn't Yeshua say in Isaiah 26 that no weapon formed against us will prosper? Verse 32. That means don't matter what they had, what no kind of plague can destroy you. Don't take the jab. Don't take the jab. He who did not spare his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? So he didn't spare his own son, but you want to make sure you live fat and large and in charge. You want to be on top of the mountain and name it and claim it and blab it and grab it. But Yahweh sure went through the pain, but Yahweh's just going to not let you feel the love story. The pain of your sin. The pain of your sin. How you hurt him. We need to, the mother, do you think she said she's not going to handle, she's going to deny her children because of the pain it causes? So she had one child. Nope, I'm not going to have this one. Take it out. I don't want it because I don't want the pain. Do not deny Yahweh Yeshua because of your trials. That means you wasn't worthy of him in the very beginning. Verse 33. Who will bring a charge against Yahweh's elect? It is Yahweh who justifies. Who is he who condemns? It is the Hamashiach who died, and furthermore is also risen, who is even at the right hand of Yahweh, who also makes intercession for us. Who will separate us from the love of Hamashiach? Will tribulations, or distress, or persecutions, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword? What? Is this what's going to separate us? A little blood, a little pain? It is written, for your sake we are killed all day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Yet in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Because I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor anything created thing will be able to separate us from the love story, the story of Yahweh, which is in Hamashiach, Yahweh, our sovereign. Yahweh, Hamashiach, our sovereign. Until next week, your 100 week with you here, Yahweh for Christians. Tune in for the next installment of Yahweh for Christians.